If you've been feeling like you need a reset, but you're not even sure what a reset looks like anymore, then this conversation is going to be for you, because I don't think that you need another planner or another 30-day challenge or even more information. I think what's really needed is that you have a quiet and an honest reset. And this is going to be the last reset guide that you'll ever need. So grab your journal and let's check in. Now, resets online, they usually sound a little bit like this, like do more, try harder, optimize yourself. That's one of my favorite, and I'm guilty of it. I'm guilty of also saying, listen, you need to optimize this, you need to optimize that, you need to have your ultimate system and all of those things. But many of us, we don't need to hustle into the next season. We need to listen our way there. And just hear me out, because seasons don't change just because the calendar does. Yes, you know, you may at this time of watching, you may be going through and getting ready for a new year, or maybe you're getting ready for a new quarter, whatever it is. Just because the calendar has a certain date on it doesn't mean that you need to be rushed into something. What happens with seasons is that they change when you change how you operate, when you change how you are moving, when you change the decisions that you decide to make. Now, resets online, they usually sound a little bit like this, like do more, try harder, you can do this, you know you've been able to do this, you were born to do this, or even optimize yourself, put up this system, put up that system, don't set goals, set systems. Listen, that phrase has been worn down to the ground. But many of us, we don't need to hustle into the next season. We need to listen our way there. And sometimes that means you have to take a beat, you have to take a break, because seasons don't change just because the calendar does. They change when you change how you move, when you change how you operate, when you change your perspective on things. So that's what this conversation is about. It's not about goals. Not this time, but it's about your identity. It's about your capacity. It's about your direction. And so this is going to be the last reset guide, the last one that you're going to ever need, because it's not connected to something that you repeat on, you know, every time you feel overwhelmed or every time you feel like you're stagnant or you're stuck or anything like that. This is something that you return to when you're ready for alignment. So one thing I want to talk about is, why do seasons shift internally before externally? I mean, we go through times where, you know, you just feel a change is happening. Nothing may not be happening on the outside, but you can definitely tell there's something happening on the inside. And so when that happens, it's like, okay, what do I need to prepare for? You start asking all of these questions. And sometimes it kind of triggers scatterbrain. It triggers overwhelm. It triggers the hustle muscle, because you know you need to be doing something, or you just feel like you need to be doing something. When the truth is, when you get to that piece, it's more about stopping and reflecting, stopping and really taking stock of what's already happened, what's already taken place, what's in movement now. And so the reason why you don't want to rush into these things, even the reasons why sometimes I don't want to rush into stuff, is because I know that when we start rushing into the next thing, we start rushing into the next goal, or you've accomplished something. And so now, you know, it's like, okay, we don't just stay here. We got to keep moving. No, there is a time and point where you actually need to kind of sit still and you need to get your next marching order. And so that's why it's important not to rush, because then it's going to disconnect you from God's order. It's going to disconnect you from like his plan, because it's his plan that we are walking out. We make our own plans, but of course he's going to order our steps. He's going to determine the outcome. And so our main focus is to make sure that we are in alignment with him. And so it's important to set intention behind knowing when to reflect. And so that's what we're doing right now to prepare for this next season. Whether you're watching this, you know, whether it's a new year that you're preparing for, or literally it could be a random Tuesday and you are preparing for, okay, I know I'm walking into this next season. Let me sit down and let me figure this out. And so that's why this particular reset guide is different. It's because it's not about, you know, set up this system and not your basic reflection items. No, we're going to be going through like it get real over here. We're going to be going through some things here. So I'm going to pull up the workbook now so we can kind of go through the questions. But again, I want you to download this guide and you can kind of walk through it as well. And you can even come back to this video and walk through it as you see fit. Now, understand this. Like, I don't think that like the urgency, like there doesn't need to be an urgency behind, oh, I need to hurry up and reflect so then I can get to the next step. Because we all, we do over here, we do the 12-week year. Over here, we're really big on goals, and not even necessarily the goal piece. The biggest thing over here is executing the plan. Like, let's create the goal, let's create the plan, but we need to focus on executing. And so one thing that I have to even catch myself on is making sure that, listen, I'm not so attached to executing that I forget, like that I make reflection just, okay, that's just a step in the process. No, that's like the foundational step of everything, because until I get my marching orders, I can execute with speed and have no direction. So when you're reflecting, this is how you are getting your marching orders. This is how you're getting your direction. So in the workbook, there are a couple of different sections. The first section that we are going to go through is going to be the identity reset. All right. And so every new season, again, it begins with identity, like whether we acknowledge it or not. You have to figure out, are you outgrowing an old version? Are you coming into a new version of yourself? Is it something where you're in this, like you're in the same version, but there's a couple of updates that you need to make. So you want to make sure that you are using this time when it comes to your identity reset to rework your soil. What kind of soil have you been working with? Have you been stony, where you can be told something, but it just lays flat? It never takes root anywhere and nothing comes of it, right? And then we also have the soil where maybe it's good soil. So you are receiving what it is that you're learning, and you're actually walking it out, and you can see the fruit take place. That's great. Again, we always have areas where we need to, improve. Now, my thought process is that before you can become anyone new, or before you can, move to that next level or anything like that, you have to admit who you've been pretending to be. There are survival identities that some of us, we have attached ourselves to, that we need to learn to let go of. Whether it's survival because you were people pleasing and you wanted to be the peacekeeper, or you wanted to be, making sure everybody was taken care of. You didn't want to rock the boat, anything like that. That is something that you have to address, but it takes you being honest with yourself. So the first question in the guide, it says, who are you pretending to be that doesn't really fit anymore? And the next question is, which version of you helped you survive, but it's no longer required to lead your life? You've moved past that. It's no longer a thing. These are things, like these are identities that you may have thought that you've let go of, but based off of previous behavior, there's still a remnant there. There's still something there you got to get rid of. And then this one cuts a little bit deeper. It says, if no one needed you to stay the same, who would you become? And again, this is in the mindset that, who did God call you to be, or who has God called you to be? Because sometimes we stay in old identities, not because they fit, but because they feel familiar. They feel comfortable. But you are a woman that's becoming, and that's going to require a lot more courage, a lot more honesty than comfort. So take some time, and as we're working through this, as we're sitting here chatting, and I take my sips of hot cocoa, I want you to write down answers to this. Pause this video as you move through it and write down answers so that you can really do some deep reflection and figure out, okay, this is where I am right now, but it's some stuff that need to, I'm no longer afraid to speak up. It's okay for me to be bold and say what I need to say and keep it moving and not feel any kind of that way. It's okay for me to show up as I am. I don't have to put on a face. It's okay for me, to say what needs to be said or say what everybody is thinking and just be the person who does that, because you're the bold one. All right. So our next one So then we have another section. And again, when you download the workbook, it's going to have all of these in different sections. And so the second section is about a capacity reset, because again, we have to be very mindful of our capacity and our rhythms. Now, when it comes to that, most burnout isn't caused by too much ambition. It's caused by living beyond what your capacity can contain, your actual energy limits. If you are not managing your energy and your attention, then guess what? You're digging a ditch that you're not going to be able to get out of without some help. And sometimes, there's burnout that's masked as ambition. And it's, yeah, I really want to do this. And I know I can do this. And I'm going to do it by any means necessary. But those means end up being your health. So you have to understand that stewardship is not just with money. Stewardship is also with your energy, and it's energy over hustle. All right. So let's get into the questions here. The first one is, what in my life looks productive but drains me? Now, I know for me, when I answer this question, listen, at first it felt like, well, no, nothing's really draining me. I don't feel like anything's draining me. But then it's like, okay, well, what have I put on myself that has been draining me? Not necessarily that assignments or, responsibilities that was given to me, but what did I put on myself that was draining me? And then that just opened up a whole floodgate. And sometimes this can be putting expectations on yourself or allowing others to put expectations on it, and you wanting to people please and reach those expectations when that's not an expectation that God placed on you. Because a lot of us, here's the truth. You can build a whole life and it look successful on the outside, but you feel incredibly depleted on the inside. There's several examples out there with people sharing their story saying, listen, it looked like Hollywood out here, but it was the ghetto inside. All right. So there's that first question. Next, where have I been living beyond what I can truly sustain? Again, that's when we're talking about capacity. Like you have, what's this, an 8-ounce cup? You have an 8-ounce cup filled of, like, this is your capacity, but you're trying to pour 12 ounces into this 8-ounce cup. How many times have you done that? What have you done that with? And then this one matters more than most people will admit. And the question is, if I treated my energy as sacred, what would need to change? And this is not just energy on you doing things. This is energy around the company that you keep. This is energy around the things that you do, whether it's not you doing something, but you can be sitting there and rotting on the couch, and that's taking up a lot of your energy, but that's not being a good steward of it. All right. Okay. And then what I want you also to think about before we get into this next section, is rebuilding those sustainable rhythms. So I want you to think about how this next season won't be built by hustle. You're not going to hustle your way into it, because being busy, that hustling is being busy. You're not going to be busy through this. You're going to build this next season with stewardship. That takes intentionality, that takes focus, that takes prayer, that takes faith, that takes belief. So that's what you're going to build this off of, all right? So let's get into our next set of questions. So this next session, I keep on saying session and I mean section. All right, so we have our discernment reset, okay? So this is where, you're figuring out what actually belongs and what doesn't, all right? So for this next one, we are asking ourselves, what feels complete, even if I haven't acknowledged it yet? Now, this one is good because you're really thinking through, like, some doors have already closed, but you're just kind of standing there. You've just been holding on to the handle. You haven't let go. I caught myself even doing this, where good and well that, listen, that chapter is closed. That's done. Whatever it is, whether it's a project you've been working on, whether it's a relationship that you were a part of, it's closed, it's done. You've been holding on to the door thinking, well, maybe I'll open it back up. And that's how you get yourself in trouble. So instead of doing that, you need to let it go. It's completed. It's done. That's it. Acknowledge it so that you can move forward. And then the next question, this one's, what am I keeping alive out of comfort or fear? What have you been keeping alive out of comfort or fear? What have you used to mask or continue to, I don't know, maybe prep through saying, okay, I'm working on this because I know this is coming down the line. But you needed to let one thing go in order for that next thing to arrive. You've been keeping up space for something that you need that space open so that the next thing, that next season can come through. It can move into position. What does that look like for you? And then finally, which version of myself am I ready to release? Yes, because you could be keeping a version of yourself alive and entertained out of comfort or even fear. I'm afraid to become this person because if I become this person, who's going to leave? I'm afraid of starting to do this because if I do this, then I won't have access, or I don't think I'll have access to this over here. And I want to kind of have my cake and eat it too. Maybe you've been called where you need to cut off something, or maybe you need to cut off someone or some people. And it's not out of anything malicious or anything like that. It's just, hey, that season is over. Everybody can't come with you, right? And even your old habits, that habit can't come with you. Now, before we move into this next section, because it's talking about follow through, and if you've been here for any moment of time, you know I love a good conversation about follow through, but it's really about you have to release something without thinking that you're a failure because you're releasing it. It just means that it served its season. You're not a failure because, okay, I'm letting this go. No, you're letting this go because it's wisdom to do so. You're letting this go so you can continue to move forward because it can't come with you. You can't turn into a bag lady and carry everything with you. No, you got to set it down so you can move the way you need to move, the way you've been called to move. And just know that it served its season. And it's okay. That's the biggest thing. It's okay. It served its season. It's over with. It's okay. All right. So let's get into follow through. So with the follow through reset, I'm a little excited about this one because again, that's when we love a good follow through. But this one is like, listen, this is the action time. Like it's action time. This is the action part. So because resets without follow through, they become fantasies. Let's just be honest. They become fantasies. They become, oh yeah, I was going to do that. They become more talk and less work. And whenever you're doing more talking than than the fruit that's coming from it, it's a no. So you already know the thing that you've been circling. You have been, listen, it is time to land the plane. You have been going round and round and round, knowing that, listen, I need to land this plane. I need to go ahead and commit to this reset. And committing to the reset means you fully follow through. Whatever needs to let go, you have opened up your hands and let it go. Okay, so that's what we're doing. So I want you to ask yourself, what action keeps resurfacing in your heart? So what keeps coming up that you keep pushing back down? Something that you know you need to do. Something that you know, listen, it's got your name all over it. You get a very strong feeling or a strong emotion. Whether it's an emotion of, I don't think I can do this, and you're leaning onto your own understanding, you're leaning onto your own strength, or it's, I know I'm supposed to do this and I keep on getting pushed in and the situations just keep on occurring and it's opening up the door for me to just walk in and I just keep on shutting the door. What does that look like? Because again, before you can walk into your next season, you have to uproot all of this. You got to get it up and out. Now another one. Where have you been preparing instead of deciding? Because preparation addiction is real. Preparation addiction is real. I got caught up even with doing this video. Preparation addiction is real. We get prepped and we think that we need more information. We think we need a new notebook. We think we need a new planner. We think we need to write it down one more time so it sounds just right or it looks just right. You've been creating content and it's just been sitting in your phone, on your laptop. It's just been sitting there and it's like, well, because I just don't know. Or you did what you needed to do, but you didn't push publish. Where have you been preparing instead of deciding? I want you to think of all those times. And then we're going to get into a money question. What is the single unfinished thing that is draining more energy than finishing it would require? So here's what we mean by that. It's an action you know you need to take, but it has been ruminating in your mind for so long that you have gotten anxious over it. You have thought up all of the different ways that it could go wrong. It could go left, it could go right, it could go sideways. You ain't thought too much on how it can go right. And it's draining more energy. It is disturbing your sleep. It is disturbing your peace. And it's all because you are not taking the single action. And if you would just finish it, publish it, let it be done, let it be turned in. If you would just do that, then you can move on to the next thing. But instead, you've been caught up in indecision loops. You've been caught up in preparation addiction. You've been caught in trying to figure out how it would work before you even take action, thinking that you know the outcome better than the Lord, who is responsible for the outcome. Listen, the outcome is God's business. It is none of yours. Our job is to put in the work and believe that it's going to work out in our favor. The outcome, that's God's business. When you start getting into his business and you not paying attention to your business, then business gets shut down. Okay? So again, think through what that single unfinished thing is. Write it down, because the next thing we're going to talk about is how movement, you need to figure out what that one action is, because then you already know where you're starting off for the new year or for the new season or for the new quarter or for whatever the new is. And don't get so addicted to something being new, something being a fresh slate, something being clean. Sometimes that new is dirty. Sometimes it's in the middle of something. A lot of times it's inconvenient. It's on, like I said, it's on a 12th, on a random Tuesday. Because again, we go through these mental loops because we have a fear of starting again. You've been fearing starting again and what that looks like. And sure, starting again may be popular. It may be, the thing to talk about, and sit there and you'll watch the content about everybody else starting again. But don't be afraid to start again. Movement is what's going to break those mental loops. And you have to make those decisions in order to restore your self-trust, because the reason why you haven't been moving the way that you needed to move is because you don't trust yourself. And if you don't trust yourself, that means you don't have any confidence in the way you would execute. You also don't have belief and confidence in God, and that understand that, listen, he's got the outcome in his hand. You just need to be the footman and move. You got to do the work. You got to do the work. Because the outcome may be totally different than what you're expecting, whether negative or positive. But the point is, the outcome is not your responsibility. You're covered as long as you take care of your responsibility. All right. So now we're going to go through our direction reset. And we've gone through, there's a couple of different sections I told you. So right now we're looking at direction. And this one is more of a bigger picture. So, when it comes to direction, we like to talk about vision and visioneering over here. But it's not necessarily about what you want to put on your vision board. It's not about becoming famous. It's not about becoming the person. It's more about becoming more faithful to your assignment and to your calling. So the question that we'll start with is, who is this next version of me meant to serve? Because again, we're here to serve. So it should not be, it's not like all about me type of attitude. It's no, who do I need to serve? And to be quite honest, before making this video, I was making it very much about me. Okay, I don't know if I got this and I don't know if I have that. And sometimes maybe you've been asking yourself the same questions. Well, I don't know. I don't know if I have the right background or the backdrop, or I don't know if I have the right equipment, or I need to get this before I can be ready, and all of these. Well, no, you just sit down and you do what you need to do, because it's not about you. It is about you serving that one person who's been waiting, that person who they've gone through all the different videos and they've gone through all the different coaches. And it wasn't until they came across your content, they came across you just talking to you and having a conversation. It could be at the post office. And it wasn't until they spoke to you that that it clicked for them. That is why we do what we do. So that question that you're answering is, who is the next version of me meant to serve? And if I repeated this next year exactly as I live now, how would I feel? I would feel trash. I'm going to be 1000% honest. And not even think. So let me not even go there. I did good this year. Okay, so because good is relative. This year was better than the previous year. This season was better than the previous season in terms of becoming, right? But I have a long way to go, as I'm sure we all do, right? But yes, if you repeated this next year exactly as you live now, how would you feel? I know for me, we can't do this. We cannot be here again. We cannot be here again. We need to move forward. So the last one for this section is, what values must lead my actions this season? This I think is one of the most undervalued and understated elements when it comes to anything regarding goal setting or planning or anything. Because if you're not clear on what your core values are, you're going to be out there doing any and everything. You talk about double-mindedness, and like you friends with doubt over here, and you friends with maybe it's gonna happen over here, and you sitting here doing this all day. You are ruminating on the negativity. You are sitting there listening to all the different voices. You have one question, you didn't listen to 5 different people give you 5 different ways or 5 different answers to that question. That's schizophrenic. So, but again, that comes down to you not being clear on what your core values are. When you know what your core values are, then the minute you get what you need, and you need it because it's in alignment with what your core values are, you can keep on moving. But if you're not clear on that, and you're not sure, I don't know if this strategy is going to work, I don't know if that strategy is going to work, it's because you're not clear on what you value. You're not clear on what gives you peace. So you have to be clear on that. I mean, even when it comes to the definition of success, if it's not in alignment with those core values, it's never going to satisfy you, because it's not going to be real success. It's not going to feel like it. You're not going to have a peace about it, because you're not clear on what you stand for. You don't sure, you may know what right and wrong is, but your core values, this is what I value. This is what's important to me. This is what my standards are. This is what my boundaries are. And if it crosses any of these lines, then it's got to go. If this person doesn't fall in line with these, then listen, they're not the person for me to work with. Your core values stem through every single part of really anything that you do, whether it's a job that you have, whether it is a business that you are building, relationships, any of those things. If they're not in alignment with your core values, that's what alignment is. You're aligning it to your core values. So make sure you have a clear understanding on that. And then we're going to get into the spiritual reset. Now, when it comes to the spiritual reset, it's important to know that before you can commit to anything, you must yield. You must yield. Because again, it's not about your ambition. It's not about what you want to accomplish. It's about what is it that God wants to accomplish through you. We have our plans, we make our plans, but again, His word says He determines the outcome. So we take our plans and we say, Lord, is this in alignment with what you want? If not, correct me. Adjust as you see fit. What are my marching orders? So I want you to ask yourself, what do I sense God quietly shifting inside of me? And He's so gentle with it. He's very merciful, because you'll start going a direction that you think you get excited about it. And I'm not saying it because I heard about it. I'm saying it because I know. You get really excited about it and you start moving in that direction. And then it seems like there is a floodgate that opens that says, nope, you need to go this way. And that is him being lovingly, like not being lovingly, but yes, being loving, but lovingly course correcting us, moving us to where we need to be. And then our next question is, where have I called waiting, and what is really hesitation? So what is it that you've been needing to do that you said, well, I'm just waiting on, and you fill in the blank? And then what is really hesitation? So what is you waiting where you actually needed to wait, where you've been told to wait? And then what is you hesitating? Now, growing up, there was a term, or there was a phrase that was always said to me. It wasn't until I got older that I had a full understanding, but it was always hesitation kills and anticipation kills, because if you move too fast, then you're going to mess up something. But if you move too slow, you're going to mess up something. So it's important to know when the right time is that you need to move, right? And so and throughout life, I've been in different situations where it was truth. It was, okay, well, I waited too long, so that opportunity is now gone. Or now that's a fractured situation because I waited, or that's a fractured situation because I moved too fast. Or sometimes I'll be talking too much. Oh, you talking too much. Stop. Okay. So we're going to stop. Okay. And what fruit do I pray this season produces, regardless of recognition? I had to break up with the need of recognition, and it was really, really rough for me, because for a very long time, I had the mindset that, listen, I did this and you didn't even say nothing, or you didn't say thank you. It'd be some of the smallest things. You open up the door for somebody and they just walk through. They don't say thank you. Oh, that used to grind my gears. Now at this point, I just feel sorry for them. Look, pray for them. But yes, what fruit do you pray this season produces? What does this new season look like? And what do you pray comes from it? Is it a level of impact? Is it a level of income? Is it a change in scenery, a change in environment? Is it a change in circles? Is it more intimacy? Is it what is it? So what fruit do you pray this season produces? And I would challenge you to keep it, instead of looking externally, I would challenge you to keep it more internal. What fruit inside of you do you want it to produce? Because before we talk about doing all the things or even having all the things, it's about becoming more of the person who can do and who can have all those things. And again, this is regardless of recognition. So it's something that is between you and God. Only you two know it. What does that look like? Or what if it was just you and God who knew it? Nobody else really knew that was happening. Or sure, other people saw it and they knew that it happened and knew you was responsible for it, but nobody hyped you up. You can get an award for it. You wasn't called to the front of the room for everybody to say kudos, right? Those are the things that you want to write down. So once you've written these questions down, because those are the end of the questions. I had to go through the workbook again. Once you've written those questions down, I want you to kind of think through some things. Know that trust doesn't mean certainty. Trust doesn't mean certainty. So just because you are trusting the process, you're trusting God, that doesn't mean that He has to give you every single piece by piece, play by play. It doesn't mean that you're going to be certain in something. Your goal is to be certain in Him, because He's going to order our steps. He's directing our path. I don't know how this is going to look. I don't know how this video is going to happen or what the impact of this video will be. But what I do trust is that it's going to help you. That's all I need. I don't need to be certain about anything. I just know that this is out there, and whoever's going to come across it, when you come across it, you that have come across it, listen, this is helpful for you. Because sometimes faith is simply the courage to do the thing. It's the courage to step forward anyway. Regardless of recognition, regardless of the impact you would like to see, it's going to serve the purpose that it was always intended to serve. And so now we have, and this is like the final section of the workbook. So again, I want you to download the workbook. If this has been helpful for you, I also want you to like the video, please. But we are coming to the crossing moment. So in the crossing moment, this is where that reflection, it becomes reality. And so I want you to write a couple of things down. So let me pull them up here. I want you to write a couple of things down. Okay. All right. So at one part of the page, I want you to, or at the top of, or maybe the top of the section or anything like that, I want you to write down, this season I commit to, and then I want you to put a colon because it's going to be a couple of different things. Okay. So this season I commit to becoming, and write down who you commit to becoming. And then this season I commit to releasing. What do you commit to releasing? Who do you commit to releasing? And then this season, I commit to prioritizing. What do you need to prioritize? Who do you need to prioritize? And then lastly, this season, I commit to executing. So while these are the things that you're committing to doing for this season, there's one line that you need to have in this area, whether it's your personal journal or the workbook that you use. And it's the most important line. And that is, the one action I will take in the next 7 days is, and fill in that. Now, I am willing to say that the one action that you're going to take in the next 7 days is going to be that one action you already know you need to take. And within this whole workbook, when we're talking about capacity, when we're talking about our bandwidth, whatever it is that you wrote, that's your threshold. Whatever it is that you wrote, that is your threshold, because small action, it creates massive waves, and it's just going to continue to grow and grow. Just think about it. Every time a water drop hits a rock, it's going, like, with consistency. Let's be clear. With consistency over time, that rock is going to erode. It's going to start breaking apart. That's how canyons aren't built with the drop, but you know, walk through the metaphor with me, please. Okay, so that is the wonderful prep for the new season, because we're not even going to talk about whether the season is a new year. Again, like I said, this could be a random Wednesday that you have to work through this, okay? A random Wednesday on the 12th. Or no, that was Tuesday on the 12th. So a random Wednesday on a 13th. There we go. Whatever month. Because you don't need permission to like cross over into your next season. You don't have to wait for the calendar to catch up with what's going on. You don't need perfect to begin. You don't need perfect to begin. You just need to be willing. Now you have a blueprint. So anytime you need a reset, you already have the blueprint. Everything else that comes up after this, those are simple strategies and tactics that's going to help you execute. But you can't do any of that until you have this down pat. You can't do any time. Yes, you can execute, but it's going to be busy work. It's going to be busyness. All right. This, like I said, this reset guide, it was never about you restarting. It was about you realigning, because that's what matters. When you are resetting something, you are realigning. It's not about you like, okay, let me start all over again. Because what you went through before is not necessarily what you're going to go through again. It's not about continuing on the same circle. You're going to go a whole different path, because now you have clarity in that reflection piece. So again, I want you to download the season reset journal. It's going to be linked below so you can revisit this whenever it is that you have a reset, whenever you need clarity, whenever you need alignment, whenever you move into your next season. After you finish this season, you're going to come back to this guide. You're going to go through the same exercises so that you know what you need to do for your next season. I'm excited for you. All right. So that's all that I have for you all. I'll talk to you soon. Let me know down in the comments how this helped you.